Literature is often used as a way for people to convey morals, ideas, stories, opinions, etc. to the reader. Of the poems that I have read, I have found that Ego Tripping, There May Be a Reason Why, by Nikki amuses me the most. It takes poetic freedom to a level I have never seen before. However, unlike most works of literature, I believe that Nikki wrote this poem for no other audience but herself. The poet uses supernatural attributes, humor, and witty contradictions to generate self-worth and appreciation in a way that only she understands. Thus, this poem becomes inapplicable to everybody in its true meaning and intention. However, a reader can take the idea behind the poem and use it as is applicable to his or her life. Supernatural traits are usually found in poems that convey a story or morals. Take Homer's Epic of Gilgamesh, for example. The epic poem portrays the life of the Mesopotamian king Gilgamesh, who goes on a quest to find the key to eternal life. Throughout his quest, Gilgamesh uses his supernatural powers to kill beasts and perform superhuman tasks, leading him to learn truths on innocence and the concept of death. Unlike Homer, however, Nikki uses supernatural traits merely to make the reader aware of them. The focus of the poem is solely on these traits. The speaker of the poem considers herself as a seemingly omnipotent and perfect being. The voice claims to have built the Sphinx in lines 2 to 3, drank nectar with Allah in line 9, sent an ice age to Europe in line 10, created the Nile in line 14, burned out the Saharan desert in lines 16 to 17, crossed the Saharan desert in 2 hours in line 20, turned into Jesus in line 30 to 31, and made uranium, semi-precious jewels, oil, and gold, and have the ability to fly. Notice that Nikki restrains from capitalizing proper nouns. Others include Congo, Hannibal, Rome, and Arab. Capitalization is often considered a way of showing respect for something or someone. This is especially true concerning religion. Christians, for example, capitalize any word that refers to the God of the Bible, such as He, Almighty, Thy, You, Lamb, etc. Thus, I believe that not capitalizing proper nouns, especially those of God's, was the speaker's way of showing how powerful she is. The speaker even claims to be above Jesus and Allah. The speaker uses these techniques to exalt herself to a level that none has thought of before, even though technically it is impossible to be above God. Even from a non-religious standpoint, one can clearly see the high degree of poetic license that is used in ego tripping. What struck me the most when I first read the poem was how the speaker ended by stating her ability to fly. Compared to all the previously mentioned characteristics, the ability to fly seemed so small and insignificant. Reading the poem, I painted a picture of an unimaginably awesome, good-looking, all-powerful, and all-knowing person. It seemed like the speaker was trying to be humorous, but as I analyzed it, I came to the conclusion that the ending was a down-to-earth moment, a moment where the speaker's human desires gave way. With such great power, who wants to be humbled to a bird flying in the sky? It almost feels like the speaker ran out of supernatural traits. The stutter, as she says, I can fly like a bird in the sky, in lines 50 to 51, adds to this notion. Even though the poem is very different in meaning and purpose, it is very archetypal in setting. Everything seems to occur in the African Mediterranean region, usually the setting for epic poems. The speaker also claims to have been born in the Congo, a nation located in Central Africa. Nikki definitely seems to put an emphasis on African culture, using figures such as Nefertiti and Hannibal to further prove her awesomeness. Moreover, one could infer that the speaker dislikes Europeans. The speaker sent an ice age to Europe and gave oil to the Arab world. From a reader's standpoint, it seems as though Nikki incorporated her likes and dislikes into the speaker. Also, Nikki is known for her strong racial pride. Giovanni remains as determined and committed as ever to the fight for civil rights and equality, always insisting on presenting the truth as she sees it. She has maintained a prominent place as a strong voice of the black community. This fact leads me to interpret that the speaker of the poem is Nikki Giovanni. Given that Nikki Giovanni assumes the position of the speaker, I believe that this poem was not meant for anyone but Nikki Giovanni. I interpret that the poem I interpret the poem as a place where Nikki Giovanni can go to feel good about herself in situations that require self-esteem and confidence. I think of it as a happy place. In times of stress or despair, my happy place is the beach, sitting under an umbrella with my dog, listening to some chill music. Thus, as a poet, Nikki Giovanni finds ego tripping. There must be a reason why, to be her happy place, a place where she is all powerful, in charge, and loved. The content of the poem can be interpreted many different ways by many people, but only Nikki Giovanni knows the true meaning behind the poem. Alternatively, it could be that each supernatural trait corresponds to the qualities possessed by Nikki Giovanni. For example, when she writes, "I'm a gazelle so swift you can't catch me," she may be simply saying that she is a fast runner. Nevertheless, the point is that ego tripping, there must be a reason why, was meant for Nikki Giovanni, but that does not mean that there is no purpose behind the poem. I believe that Nikki Giovanni is calling out to the readers to create their own versions of ego tripping. There must be a reason why. In times of despair and trouble, one can rely on his or her own versions of as a source of encouragement. Moreover, the reader is not limited to just one basic idea, like in most poems, but can interpret ego tripping, there must be a reason why, as something opposite of another's interpretation. This is great because it actually holds true that no one interpretation is more right than another. Most poems are aimed towards certain notions and conclusions, but since ego tripping, there must be a reason why it does not apply to the reader. There is no definite conclusion. This is why I am fascinated by this poem. The poem transcends the boundaries of artistic license and becomes personal between the poet and the reader. The reader gets to take a glimpse into the soul of Nikki Giovanni, what influences her the most and defines her as Nikki. Moreover, one is also prompted to apply the idea behind this poem to his or her life, the idea of a careless, happy, free world without worries.